YouTube Ozzik in the GOAT House is back with one player each NFL team must attempt to sign this free agency. Not so much predictions here, but mainly fits and realistic signings. I do expect a lot of these to happen, or at least these teams to attempt to sign these players because they are good fits in what they're looking for here. Also did a video covering one player from each team that should be cut this offseason and what the cap situation kind of looks like if they cut those players. So go check that out if you haven't quite yet. Plenty of offseason videos, including free agency and the NFL draft, predictions in season. 40K, that's our subscriber. Go on both of our channels. We actually have a newer channel, the GOAT House Plus. Link in the description and the comments. Please subscribe to that. We're trying to reach 40K on both channels. Really close on this one. Appreciate the support. Follow our Twitter at GOAT House NFL. There's a link down in the description, the comments, every single video, every single day talking football, whether it's live during games, whether it's about free agency, coaching hires, NFL draft, always talking football there. And there's our Patreon. You'll find a link down below as well to the free agents that each team should attempt to sign. And that would be also good fit. Start with the Cardinals here. Maybe not the sexiest signing here. It's an offensive lineman. It's a right tackle, BULAGA from the Packers. I think this is extremely good fit. And obviously, it's very rare that solid, proven tackles come onto the market here in free agency, and the Packers very well could get him back. But I would like BULAGA for the Cardinals. You know, they got some holes pretty much everywhere on their offensive line, and they have other spots that need to fill as well. I like this fit, though. BULAGA is maybe one of the best in the last several years at containing edge rushers and allowing his quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, to be able to roll out there on the favorable side, which, I mean, we've seen Rodgers been able to do that, make plays outside more than anybody, and a big reason is because of his tackles, and that's exactly what the Cardinals want to do more of. Kyler Murray was not able to get outside, and when he wasn't able to stay out there for long. He mainly had to take off, and he can take off, but that's not option A. So I think this will help. And another good reason is you fill that right tackle, free agency, and then you have a kind of a top-tier draft pick, and you either can go receiver, get one of those elite receivers, or you can go left tackle, because the only option at right tackle would be Jedrick Wills from Alabama, and he could be off the board. Maybe he's not the best fit in their eyes. You know, you're better off going receiver or left tackle, and then kind of going maybe that guard route later in the draft there in the early mid rounds, you know, around maybe day 2, early day 3 is what I should say. So I would like BULAGA as a fit, and it kind of fills a need and kind of helps their plan going forward. The Falcons are next. Robert Quinn, defensive end from the Cowboys. Yeah, maybe there's more appealing pass rushers out there, but I'm being very realistic with this video here and potential signings. The Falcons don't have a ton of cap space. Yes, they're going to cut some players, and it's going to provide a little more room, but still not a whole bunch. They want to re-sign Austin Hooper. I'd say worst case scenario there. Well, I guess it's potential he could leave because they don't have a whole bunch of cap space. You know, maybe they don't want to spend it there because even the franchise tag is a possibility that would actually, cost a little bit in terms of the cap. So they do need pass rushers. It's obvious. They need multiple pass rushers because every team needs a rotation. Really, the way they sit, it's really Takk McKinley, and obviously you can get better from there. You know, he should be a rotation guy. Robert Quinn, most of his career was on 3-4 defenses, and was solid, but never really lived to the hype. He goes to the Cowboys, so it was a little bit of a change of scheme, a little bit different for him, and he had a very good year, actually better than DeMarcus Lawrence. The Cowboys have cap space, but they're going to spend it big on their big-time players, the more important players. I don't know if they get Quinn back there. I think it's a good fit for the Falcons. I think it's a good fit for him. So that's definitely one to look out for. He's going to cost a bit of money, but nowhere near the top-end pass rushers that the Falcons will not be able to get. They kind of been linked to the A.J. Epenesas or the Clavon Chason in the draft. So, I mean, that still works out. You kind of double down here, one in free agency, one in the draft. And you don't, overspend, obviously. So I would like that fit very much. I would like him to, go to a similar defense like that. The Ravens next, Danny Trevathan from the Bears. I don't think the Bears will get him back. If they do get a inside linebacker back to kind of keep with Roquan Smith, I think it'll be Kwiatkowski. Younger route. Danny Trevathan did get hurt this year, but still, playing at a pretty high level, was very good last year, 2018 season, I should say. The Ravens need to kind of recoup the inside linebackers. They may lose Owoso in free agency, They signed LJ Forts for a reason. They still need to get better at the position. They play 2 inside linebackers. TREVATHAN fits that defense perfectly, and it helps. It definitely helps them out because, I mean, they could go into the draft looking to get another inside linebacker, a guy like Patrick Queen from LSU, a guy like Kenneth Murray. I love Kenneth Murray for the Ravens, but will he be there? And, in this way, you kind of play it safe, but if he is there, a guy like Kenneth Murray, we'll use an example, is there, you can double down. You can kind of get both here, and then you're kind of back to where you were, where maybe your strength is inside linebacker, which I thought it was at one point for the Ravens, not so much last year. They also have other, they want to find another receiver. You wait till the draft to do that. They have other needs, not really major ones. I would like Danny Trevathan for the Ravens there. The Bills are next. I really like this fit. Yannick Ngakoue from the Jags. Yeah, the Jags are making it a priority to re-sign him. Very much could happen. If you checked him out on social media recently, doesn't sound like he wants to go back. He kind of wants a better team, a more organized team. Yeah, I don't know if there's a better team, on the come up here than the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills not only have tremendous amounts of cap space, they're also pass rush away from being a elite defense, and that's kind of an understatement. And this is a tremendous fit here in Ngakoue, a guy that really, he'll play defensive end in their 4-3, but sometimes they like to have the guy kind of step off the ball, a little bit of hybrid looks sometimes because they play mainly 2 linebackers with Edmonds and Milano going forward. So Yannick Ngakoue would be just fantastic, opposite of maybe Jerry Hughes, or they could also draft one. They also have a need at receiver, but it's a great time to have a need at receiver, not because of free agency, because of the NFL draft, the best draft class of all time in terms of receivers. So you can focus with your big spending money on guys like this here in free agency, and then get those receivers in the draft. Perfect situation the Bills are in. Would love this signing here. The Bills have, I guess it would be okay with their situation if they overspent a little bit. Ngakoue, kind of came out of nowhere. I say he's proven, but I wish there was a little more of the track record. So it's a guy that I kind of be careful on how much you spend on him. But still, it's a big need for the Bills, and he would be definitely a darn good player there. The Panthers are next. I like Teddy Bridgewater for the Panthers. Nobody's really talking about this. I'm not really saying it happens. He's been linked to maybe back to the Saints or maybe a team like the Chargers. The Dolphins had interest in him last year. Everyone's convinced they're going quarterback in the draft. I'd say maybe not so fast. Bridgewater's a possibility there going back to his hometown, but nobody's talking about the Panthers. I would love him on the Panthers, this new offense. There's rumors that they're going to trade Newton because he doesn't fit. Bridgewater, to me, would fit for many reasons. They already came out and said pretty much they kind of want to run a multiple scheme on offense, which is a mixture of pro style and spread looks. They'll try to get some RPO. The downside is Bridgewater doesn't have a whole bunch of experience on RPO, mainly with the Saints. But he's a guy that I'm very confident can do all that. That's why I like him a lot. He can run pretty much any offense. Another thing, Joe Brady was actually part of the Saints offensive staff a year ago, and the Saints are strictly pro style. They're strictly pro style there. And then Joe Brady leaves, and he's got his own philosophy in his mind. He was just assistant. He didn't have a whole bunch of say over there. His own philosophy kind of brought more spread looks and it's a mixture, that multiple scheme to LSU. It's kind of that new school pro styles guy. I guess it's going to become pro style here, the way the league's going. And now, so he's familiar with the Saints, with Teddy Bridgewater, but he knows what he wants in an offense. So I think Teddy Bridgewater is a good fit. In that offense, you want a guy that's, not mobile first, but that can move. And that's kind of Teddy Bridgewater. He's a passer, an accurate passer first. And it's a guy that can move around. I would like him very much for the Panthers. I'm not really saying it's going to happen, but it's definitely one to look out for. The Bears are next. I would like DANTE FOWLER Jr. very much for the Bears. They need to make, similar to the Bills. We talked about the Bills, that they're another pass rusher away from being an elite defense. The Bears are a pass rusher away from getting back to an elite defense. 2018, elite, the best defense in football. 2019, very solid defense, but really not elite. Another reason they need an edge rusher is because there's really a lack of pass rush opposite of Khalil Mack, and that kind of brings down the rest of the defense. It kind of brings down Khalil Mack. His production goes down. The man needs help. DANTE FOWLER was very underrated this year, very highly productive for the LA Rams, opposite of Khalil Mack. Would be fantastic. The Bears could clear some space. They don't have the most cap space. I think they'll clear a little more. And then I think they can go big in terms of spending here on a pass rusher like this, but it won't be anything crazy. You know, it won't be that Yannick Ngakoue money or the Shaq Barrett money or maybe not even the JPP money. You know, so Fowler would be a great fit in their 3-4, a great addition. And, you know, since they don't have a first-round pick, you know, still very possible they can get a starting caliber pass rusher in the second round, but, you know, it's less likely, obviously. You know, it's going to be more of a rotation guy. So I think Fowler, a guy like Fowler, would be a key to come away with in free agency for the Chicago Bears, and it would make their defense that much better, in my opinion. The Bengals are next. Joe Thuney, you know, hard to believe the Patriots may let him go, but at the same time, it is realistic because they have a long list of free agents. The Patriots, and, you know, not the most cap space. So what are they going to do at quarterback? What are they, you know, everywhere? They would like Thuney back, but realistically, they may not be able to get him back. The Bengals, they got Jonah Williams from a year ago. People forget that was a great draft pick. He didn't play this year. It's a guy that can play left tackle, left guard. I believe they actually put him at left tackle, you know, next year to protect potentially Joe Burrow, and they get Thuney here at guard. The guard draft class is not deep. We know they have the first overall pick. We know where they're going with that, and they're going to have the first pick in the second round, and that's kind of looking like a tackle draft pick, you know, how the draft is laid out, kind of looking at it, maybe even another weapon for potentially, you know, their future quarterback in Burrow, whoever it may be. So you get the guard in free agency. A guy like Brandon Scherff, you know, a lot of people are going to be targeting him as well. I like Thuney for them a lot, you know, right there on the left side with Jonah Williams would be fantastic there. So we'll see if they can make that happen. You know, it's pretty interesting because we know like their biggest need is quarterback, and then maybe you know, a tackle, you know, right tackle, I should say, unless they do want to move Jonah Williams inside. But, you know, the way I look at it, free agency, a guard really should be their biggest priority there, just because the way the draft is laid out and where they pick, they don't like to trade a lot. So I would like that signing very much. I would like all these very much. I probably say that a lot, too much maybe in this video. The Browns are next. Anthony Harris would be a ridiculous signing. I mean, this guy was arguably the best safety in football this year, a true playmaker, a guy that kind of played center field a lot himself with a guy like Harrison Smith in the box. You know, this would be huge for the Browns because of how good he is, but they have a big need at safety. They have a huge need there. Really, they could use two safeties, honestly. We all know they have a huge need on the offensive line in general, pretty much the whole offensive line, you know, tackles being a little more important. So look at how the draft's laid out here. They're in a prime position to get those linemen in the draft, get the young linemen for a young Baker Mayfield, a young Nick Chubb. They're in where the draft is laid out and how I think it'll lay out. They are in position to get those linemen. That's basically, you know, where they pick. Basically what I'm saying. And their next biggest need, like I said, safety. They're not really in the position on top of the class kind of being weak. It would be too early to pick a guy like Grant Delpit or Xavier McKinney. You know, a little too early. You know, they can move around. They can move up from the second round or move back from the first. To me, not worth it. You take those linemen with those picks early. You maybe could double down with your first two picks, maybe even triple down. You get a guy like Anthony Harris. I mean, this is a huge difference maker in their defense. You're going to have to spend a bit. It's you know, he may end up getting a franchise tag from his current team, the Vikings, but this would be huge. And there's some familiar faces in there too with Stefanski in there too, so that's just like a bonus there. The Cowboys are next. I would love Jimmy Ward for the Cowboys. Same, you know, back-to-back actually here. Talking about that they need to, you know, just like the Browns, they need to prioritize safety in free agency because you look at the draft, you know, maybe where they sit, maybe a Xavier McKinney or maybe a Grant Delpit. Yeah, I'm not as high on Grant Delpit as everyone else, honestly. I don't think they take him there. You know, I think they would rather have McKinney honestly than Delpit. But I think they also need another receiver looking at you know, how many drops they had last year and how many free agents they have. You know, they want to get in on this action with these top tier receivers here. They also need, you know, in my opinion, another corner, another interior defense lineman, another pass rusher. So that's kind of where your focus is on the draft, those positions, and you can kind of, you know, fill in the safety spot, you know, while there's a weak safety class here in free agency. Jimmy Ward, who had a career year for the Niners, might not be super expensive either. You know, I think it's doable for the Cowboys. They have a lot of cap space, and they'll have to spend a lot on their own players to get them back. Guys like Dak Prescott, guys like Amari Cooper, possibly Byron Jones. There's a long list of players they may need back. Jimmy Ward, really with only one really good year, you know, maybe won't cost. You know, he's not going to cost as much as an Anthony Harris or a Justin Simmons. So I think Jimmy Ward would be realistic and big time for the Cowboys here. The Broncos we're going to talk about next. Jimmy Smith, cornerback from the Ravens. I am a huge Jimmy Smith fan. I love his game so much. A good mixture of physicality, technique, athleticism, knows how to read both the quarterback and receiver. We just haven't seen a whole bunch of them because of some injuries. That's really the only scary thing with him. And the Ravens already have a couple good corners as well. I really like Jimmy Smith. He's a Vic Fangio type corner to me, and I think they'll lose Chris Harris, and I think they're going to need another veteran corner outside there. And to me, it's a priority you got to get guys back like Justin Simmons, maybe like Shelby Harris. There's a few other guys in there that they're going to need to try to get back, obviously. And they maybe have a need at a left tackle. I know Leary's a free agent. They have a big need at receiver. Again, you wait to the draft to fill your receiver need. The free agent receivers, not good. Not good time to be a free agent receiver. You go to the draft here. But I think where they sit, how the draft's layout is, where they sit, I'm thinking receiver and offensive tackle is kind of what they look at in the draft. Maybe they'll take another corner. Maybe it's down the line, maybe as early as second round, but probably third or fourth round they take a corner. So with Chris Harris being a free agent, and even with Chris Harris, they have a need there. I think it's a must to come away with a veteran corner in free agency, and then kind of, like I said, grab a younger one in the draft. So I like Jimmy Smith. I hope he can stay healthy. I always loved his game. I think he's been, you combine the last, since he was drafted, the last several years, I think he's really been one of the better corners, and he's kind of underrated. I love his game. He's just got to stay healthy. The Lions are next. Would love Quinton Jefferson for this defense. This is a Matt Patricia type guy. He had a career year, a monster year for the Seahawks this year. Very underrated, slept down a bit. I would like him for the Lions. The Lions need they need help anywhere on the D-line, but he's a Patricia guy because Patricia always kind of gets those guys that can move around a bit. Are they a D-end or, are they a D-tackle, 3 technique? Well, Quinton Jefferson's all of it. We've seen him line up at nose. We've seen him line up at 3 technique. We've seen him kind of line up at end with Clowney kind of standing back off the ball. He lined up everywhere. The Lions will love this guy. This is a guy that's kind of on my radar here because I think he is a big-time sleeper, and I'm going to love the team that goes for Jefferson because it actually – I'm trying to figure out, will he be expensive? Because, in terms of media, he isn't talked about really at all. So I think most of the people don't really expect him to get a lot of money, but he's going to get a lot more than you think. So we'll see if somebody steals him. I like him where he fits with Matt Patricia there. Packers are next. Cory Littleton is a great fit for the Packers. Inside linebacker from the Rams. Yeah, the Rams would like him back. They're in a weird spot in terms of future cap. It looks like they have a little bit now. They may not be able to get him back. At the same time, they have big needs across the offensive line. Littleton, Fowler, free agents. The Packers need to fill that inside linebacker. Really, they need to double down on inside linebackers in their 3-4. That's kind of their weakness to their improving defense. They have the young safeties. They have the young corners. Maybe they can use another rotation corner. They obviously have the pass rush. They got Kenny Clark. They need inside linebackers, and they need D-line other than nose tackle. And there's a great opportunity here to get one that fits here in free agency. Cory Littleton, more of today's linebacker. You see, the good thing about Blake Martinez, he'll rack up the tackles. He'll make sure he gets the tackles there. Not a whole bunch else he can do. Littleton's the same way. He's going to lead the team in tackles, but he's a lot, rangier. He's going to get sideline to sideline, and he was excellent in coverage this year. So this will be ideal for the Packers. One, I'm curious about how much he's going to get because he's really only had, I guess, 2 good years now, but, not really a big, proven guy. Kind of came out of nowhere the second half of last season, so maybe not even full 2 years, but I like him a lot. I think he would fit the Packers. Texans are next. If they can come away with a guy like SHAQ Barrett, that would be ideal. They actually have a good amount of cap space. They don't have a good amount of draft picks, obviously, so they need to go huge in free agency. What is if you gain a great player in a specific position to kind of turn around your defense, what position would that be? To me, it's edge rush, pass rush. The defense was better than expected this year, but just adding another pass rusher of this caliber of SHAQ Barrett would just make the defense that much better. Yeah, they could use a corner, maybe another safety. I mean, they got some young corners. I think guys like Lonnie Johnson will step up. We're going to see some guys come back from injury on the offensive line. Some people may consider that a need, maybe running back, but pass rush is the most important thing for them. They didn't want to pay Clowney the money. Why? Because, yeah, he was a great player. He's kind of a do-it-all guy, but he's not a guy that's going to rack up a whole bunch of sacks, so they didn't want to pay a guy like that. Even though I think Clowney's great, I think he's worth the money because he does everything. But what they're, in their mind, what do they want? A guy that gets after the quarterback, at a high level, and that's SHAQ Barrett. That's SHAQ Barrett. So I think that they'll give that money that maybe Clowney wanted, maybe a little less, to go get a guy like SHAQ Barrett, and that'll be big time for them. Him with Merciless, and hopefully J.J. Watt's healthy down there at the DN position in their 3-4. That'll be ideal. I think it's a great fit. I think it's something they would definitely do. The Colts are next, and I got big Tom Brady to the Colts. It's not really a prediction. I think it's very possible. I'm kind of thinking Patriots or Colts for Tom Brady. We'll get our free agent by free agent predictions here soon as we get closer to free agency. But Tom Brady with the Colts would be a tremendous fit, and they would be that much better. They have the offensive line in place to keep him protected. We see the difference in Tom Brady when he's protected, which pretty much was his whole career up until this year when he's not protected. And still, even when he's not protected, he's still a good quarterback, just a little off this year. Talking about maybe the best offensive line in football, they may need some more weapons, but, they got guys like T.Y. Hilton. I'm hoping Paris Campbell can step up. They have some other solid options as well, and obviously Jack Doyle. And an improving defense, too. So, it's a good team. You kind of just need that quarterback, maybe another weapon, maybe another D lineman. That's kind of just what you need to take that next huge step, and Tom Brady could be definitely involved in that. I think they will have interest. No doubt in my mind they'll have interest. It's going to be tough for him to leave New England, but this is a very appealing spot. And you see the quarterback tree that they had. They got Jacoby Brissett. Where did they get him from? They got him from the Patriots. They got Brian Hoyer. He came from the Patriots at one point. That's really not the reason I'm saying Tom Brady's a fit, but I do find that very interesting. So this would be something out. This would make this one of the more, maybe the most crazy free agency of all time, really. So looking forward to seeing something like that. The Jags would be big time if they can get a guy like Shelby Harris. He had a career year, dominant across the D-line, really interior D-line. That's exactly what the Jags need here. They could be in a position to get a guy like Derek Brown or Javon Kinlaw in the draft. They got 2 first-round picks. They're kind of sitting in that sweet spot where one of those guys is bound to fall to them, in that first pick, that they're with their first pick in the first round. But they still need another, they need another D-lineman that can kind of move around a bit. Shelby Harris, like I said, was dominant this year, and that will help them big time. Kind of can go in the draft, you could get another one. You can get a corner. They could use a linebacker, so this would be ideal. They're going to free some space by cutting Marcel Darius. They'll have some money here to sign a guy like this. He's going to get some money. He had a big time year. The Chiefs next. Byron Jones, maybe the top corner on the market, former safety actually, from the Cowboys. Cowboys, again, ton of cap space. They're more worried about paying. Well, we really don't know, actually, for sure, but you would 100% assume Dak Prescott at the top, but that's kind of the mystery. Who do they put next in line for them to re-sign? Would it be Amari Cooper, Byron Jones? Can they get both back? Do they want to go out and get some new players? The Chiefs, Sammy Watkins, they're going to cut. That's going to save up a ton of money. Yeah, they want to extend Mahomes, but they're going to focus on corner. They're going to focus on corner, and one, to me, that fits. A physical corner and athletic at the same time that can press, because they like to press a lot, and play some man coverage there. So Byron Jones, still a young corner too. He's going to get paid. I think the Chiefs can make it happen. They don't want to go out and spend too much though, because they want to worry about paying Mahomes and Chris Jones, who could get the franchise tag. Chris Jones, that is. So Byron Jones, maybe a little steep in price. So this one's a little tricky, but definitely a guy that's going to be very appealing to them, because I think he fits tremendously in their defense. Chargers next. You may be expecting a quarterback. I did not go quarterback, though. I think Teddy Bridgewater is a fantastic fit. Had him with the Panthers in this video, and they very well can end up with a guy like Teddy Bridgewater. But I like Tyrod Taylor. To me, it's not really a must. It's not really to break the bank to go for these quarterbacks, because you got a really good draft pick. You have Tyrod Taylor. Not that Taylor's like really the answer to get you in the Super Bowl. I wouldn't rule it out, I guess, completely. But you need a right tackle first. You need to get this offensive line sorted out before the quarterback. They need a right tackle. They could use multiple offensive linemen. Right tackle is the biggest hole, in my opinion. Jack Conklin, coming off his rookie contract with the Titans and having his best year, is a very solid right tackle. So I think that would be, not a lot of right tackles in free agency too. You look at Conklin, or not a lot of tackles in general. Right tackle specifically, look at Conklin and BULAGA. I think Conklin would be the better fit there. You're looking at the Titans offense, I think pretty similar. So that's somebody they can spend somewhat big. I don't know if he's going to get as much money as people think because he's kind of had one big year. We will see, though. The Rams being next, Javon Hargrave, the nose tackle from the Steelers. They needed a nose tackle desperately. They really could go back and try to get Ndamukong Suh back, really, because they missed him. Kind of made other guys play better, like Aaron Donald, even though he had a big time. He's going to play great no matter what. But they go get a nose tackle, get a young one here that, to me, I can see as a nose tackle on that Rams front. To me, a fit. Looking at the Steelers defense, Rams defense, pretty similar. Young nose tackle that's getting a lot better. So put him inside, next to Aaron Donald. That'll be huge for them. They do need offensive linemen. They could focus on the draft for that because there's not a lot available, and they don't have a whole bunch to spend there. So getting that nose tackle could make that defense that much better. The Dolphins next, Kyle Van Noy would be big. Linebackers not their biggest need. They got a couple linebackers that, they can play. Don't get me wrong. But you look at this Brian Flores defense, the most important spot, kind of the key spot is that linebacker position. You need that kind of do-it-all linebacker because they kind of want to play two guys back there while having that extra, DB and then having four up front on the line pass rushing. And then familiar face here, Van Noy from the Patriots, happens at free agency. It's a do-it-all linebacker. He can run the defense. It makes the defense that much better. Again, not the biggest need, but you go into free agent. Where is this team going to fill their needs and get better long-term? It's the draft. So you go into free agency, you kind of get that key guy here, and then you go into the draft, and you get that quarterback, you get that running back with all these picks, you get the offensive line. I mean, you can get some of those guys in free agency as well, but to me, the way it's laid out, that makes more sense. They would love to have a guy like Isaiah Simmons. Are they in position to get him? I guess possibly with the 5th pick. Do they want to go quarterback there? A lot of questions with the Dolphins here. I expect some movement. Van Noy, we know for a fact, is a fit, and like I said, that linebacker spot is actually the most important position in that specific defense, and Van Noy's proven that with the Patriots defense and actually with Flores, who ran the Patriots defense just a year ago when they won the title. So that I see that. I think they'll have a good amount of interest here. I see it, and they have a ton of cap space. The Vikings are next. Andrew Whitworth, the left tackle from the Rams, if he decides to keep on playing, he's near retirement here. We'll see, but yeah, obviously the Vikings, maybe rather have a bigger, and Whitworth's a big name, but maybe a long-term left tackle, or maybe if you want the guard, Brandon Scherff. But realistically, are they going to have the money to break the bank for those guys? They are not. They're actually in the negative right now. I expect them to cut a good amount of guys that actually get them a decent amount of cap space, where they can actually sign players. But they're still not going to be able to go big. Whitworth, it's going to be a one-year deal. He decides to come back. I think he's a great fit in the Kubiak scheme. And the Vikings, to me, are kind of a win-now team. They don't have long. They got to win pretty much now. So, Whitworth's a good option in that. I think they'll cut Riley Reef. That'll be an upgrade there if Whitworth wants to continue to play here. Next up's the Patriots. Eric Ebron. I would love for them to get a guy like Eric Ebron. Struggled on the Lions and was pretty impressive with the Colts. That was more with Andrew Luck, obviously. But to the Patriots, who are obviously looking for a tight end, a guy that can really do it all tight end. Maybe they would like a guy like Austin Hooper. I think they'd be more interested in Ebron, there. So that obviously the Patriots are going to look for a tight end. But they could do that in the draft. Are they, where they pick in the first round? Is it too early to grab one of those tight ends? They don't have a second-round pick. So they're going to need to go in free agency and get a guy like this here. And I think they maybe be able to get him cheaper than you think. Actually, he's not going to be cheap, but cheaper than you think here. I guess it kind of depends on who their quarterback is, though. It kind of plays a part into that. So Ebron's one to look out for the Patriots. The Saints are next. Chris Harris Jr., the veteran corner. And the Saints obviously have Marshawn Lattimore. They have a bunch of free agents at corner. I think they'll cut Janoris Jenkins. I think that was kind of just a rental. They'll cut him, save a whole bunch of cap. And they're always trying to look for corners. And here we get one that is very much proven veteran corner. So I think they would like him very much out there, and that'll definitely improve. Their secondary. Chris Harris with a guy like Marshawn Lattimore would be big time for them. They have a need at receiver. Again, you wait to the draft to fill that need at receiver. Most definitely. You don't spend big in free agency and receiver with this draft class coming up. Giants go Joe Schobert, the Browns linebacker who had a career year, a big-time year. He's always been solid, too, so it's not like he's like a one-year wonder. Always been very solid, but big-time this year. for the Browns, and the Giants need that inside linebacker. It's possible they can cut Ogletree. They play 2 inside linebackers in a 3-4 if they decide to go that route, keep that route, that scheme. Gettleman values the linebacker position. You won't know it based on his limited time in the Giants, but I've talked about this before. I don't really blame him. They haven't really been in the right position to get those big-time inside linebackers. Now here's their opportunity. Where they pick, they could possibly get a guy like Isaiah Simmons, but there's just so many good options at that tackle position that fits their offense so good and, help them for the future, help them grow with a guy like Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, that it makes too much sense to go to not, they have to go with one of those young offense tackles so they can get a young inside linebacker here in free agency. And again, they play with 2 inside linebackers, so we could be looking at maybe another one too. The Jets next, Brandon Scherff, maybe the top guard on the market here. Somebody's going to have to spend big to get him. Maybe the Redskins can get him back. They can possibly spend big. The Jets need offensive line across the board. The guard class isn't nowhere near as appealing as the tackle class. So if you desperately need a guard, you better go ham in free agency. I expect the Jets to do that. They'll spend big for a guy like Scherff or Thuney. I expect them to go for Scherff. I would be surprised if they didn't even attempt to do this. So that'll be huge for them. Absolutely huge. Raiders next, Patrick Owosso, linebacker from the Ravens, who actually had somewhat of an off year, but I still very much believe in Patrick Owosso. I love his game. He's today's linebacker to me, very rangy, very athletic, and get in the backfield, get after the quarterback if you want to blitz him. Playing in that 3-4 the Ravens, he can go play at 3-4 somewhere. I actually prefer him in the 4-3 here with the Raiders. Can play outside, can play inside for them. They need linebackers across the board. He won't be overly expensive because he had somewhat of an off year and not too many great years, but from what I've seen from him, I very much believe in this guy. I'm a big fan of his game. I kind of want him in a different place here, somewhere like the Raiders. That'll be big time for them. So love the fit there. Another one that I would be surprised if they didn't at least attempt this. Depends on the money, I guess. Eagles next, Devin McCourty would be big. Age-wise, it looks like maybe he's coming to close to the end of his career, but he's not playing like that at all. The Patriots very well could get him back. He's a key part of their defense, their team. Long list of free agents. Who are they going to sign? Some guys will have to go. The Eagles, they don't have, they have a situation with future cap. They have a decent amount this year. So it's kind of a perfect situation. Devin McCourty could be a 1 or 2 year deal. I don't see any more than that. That doesn't really hurt their future a lot. Helps them right now. McCourty with a guy like Jenkins, that is fantastic back there. They can go to the draft, and another one of those teams that could focus on receiver in the draft. You don't want to focus on free agency and corner in the draft as well. This feels right here. I would love this. If him and Jenkins, and it makes sense because the future cap situation, you sign in a 1 or 2 year deal, it'd be a huge pickup for them. Steelers are next. Tight end Austin Hooper is a tremendous fit in that offense. With Big Ben, it's a exact tight end that they want there in there. I guess a do-it-all tight end. He's kind of been more of that blocking tight end with that red zone. Opportunities there, opens up opportunities for the offense. That's kind of always what the Steelers wanted. But Hooper, kind of opened that game up to a new level this year. And the Falcons, they're going to want him back. And they may very well franchise tag him, but they're limited on cap space. Where do they value the tight end position with the limited cap space? They need to make, a lot of other spots, positions better on their team as well because they're trying to win now. So maybe they won't, want to spend the money on the tight end. The Steelers don't have a whole bunch of big needs. Tight end is one of them, and we know they're in the market looking for a tight end like this. So, again, very well the Falcons can end up back with them. They can franchise tag them, but I know the Steelers will attempt to scoop up Austin Hooper here in free agency. Seattle will be next. Andrus Peat, they need another guard. I like the fit of Andrus Peat in there, for them, and they're pretty good. Andrus Peat, has been very solid at times, and at times it's like that's kind of the weak spot of the Saints' offensive line. But I definitely believe in him. I think Seattle would like him very much. They never go huge when the offensive lineman. They don't go with the big money guys. They never do that. So this is kind of the in between guy. Young guy that has potential still, but you don't have to break the bank for. You can sign him and kind of sign your guys, whether it's Clowney, Reed, Jefferson, whoever it may be, and they need to go get another receiver possibly in the draft, I should say. So Andrus Peat would be good for them to play left guard for the future. We'll see if they make it happen. The Niners are next. I really like this fit. Trey Waynes, the corner from the Vikings. I think he's the Niners corner. I see Niners corner. Similar defenses, to the Vikings in terms of the secondary, what they run. He'll be able to run a lot of cover 3. And he's speedy. They kind of need another speedy guy out there opposite of Sherman. But he kind of fits the profile of a 49ers defender. Trey Wayne's best part of his game and where he's very underrated is, flying up to make a tackle. He's very efficient tackling, and he's to me, he's one of the better corners at that in really football. Tackling wise, obviously, he could work on the downfield coverage, but he does have the speed to keep up with the corners. Obviously the Niners can't spend huge, big time at the corner position, but they definitely need another one. This would be an upgrade in that spot opposite of Sherman. I just like the fit. I see him in that cover 3. Like I said, he fits that profile. He'll come up and hit you. He'll come up and make that sure tackle. High motored players too like that. That's the Niners profile there. And again, I think he fits their zone defense or their zone secondary, and they won't need to break the bank for that either. Buccaneers being next, I would love Austin Eckler on the Buccaneers. They desperately need a running back. There was really no running game at all. I mean, they had to pass. Even with Winston throwing picks, they would have to pass the ball like crazy because they didn't have too much of a running game. But at the end of the day, they pass the ball a lot because of that, but because they really like to pass the ball. Bruce Arians wants to throw the ball. Whether it's Winston back or maybe they've been linked to Phillip Rivers, who has his running back Austin Eckler, which I think the Chargers did not use enough. He was that dominant where I think if they would have used him more, they would have played a lot better. But kind of going back to they want to throw the ball a lot, so go get maybe a top 3 pass catching back in all of football here when he's available, and he can run the ball too. To me, this just it fits. It fits on so many different levels. Just their offense. It upgrades the running back position. They want to throw a lot. That there's a receiving back, maybe one of the best in football, maybe the best after McCaffrey. And then even it's a topper is if they get Phillip Rivers, a guy that works very well with him. He had a career year, and the Chargers did not give him the ball enough. If they would have gave him the ball enough, he would have easily been a Pro Bowler, possibly All-Pro. So it's a guy the Bucs definitely should go after for, and there's no doubt in my mind, maybe the Chargers end up back with him. Tennessee Titans, I went with Jadeveon Clowney. I think it's a great fit. I'm not really predicting this one to happen. It's possibility. It's tough because the Titans do have a lot of cap, but they need to get their own guys back. Do they want to pay Henry the north of $90 million? Do they want to pay Tannehill right now or franchise tag him? That still, hits the cap if it's a franchise tag. They got Logan Ryan, who I think could walk. They got Conklin. So they got multiple other guys too. But they also need pass rush. That's the number one need there is pass rush. Clowney, Vrabel, familiar with each other. Vrabel was in there with Houston. And I think he was higher on a guy like Clowney. And then when he left, the rest of the staff, Bill O'Brien was not as high on him. It's tough with Clowney. I feel that he'll be back in Seattle. A big reason is because they traded for him, but at the same time, they didn't trade a lot. They traded for like almost a rental, so that's a possibility, even though I think he'll end up back in Seattle. But the interesting thing is what they offered for Clowney. It was nothing, and it makes you think, why did no other team do this? So a lot of other teams, I don't think will be interested because I think they would have done that deal. But a team like the Tennessee Titans weren't able to do that deal because the Houston Texans were not going to trade Jadeveon Clowney to an in-division rival, a team they play twice a year, a team in the AFC, in the division. They weren't going to do that. So I think the Titans very much had interest, and they will have interest, but can they do it? That's the question. What kind of money is he looking for? Most likely, I guess he could end up back in Seattle, but a team like Tennessee Titans is definitely one to look out for in terms of fit, and I think they would like to have him. There's other teams around the league that you would think or hope they would like to have Clowney, but I really don't think they would. I like they do because I think they would have made a better push to trade for him because he was traded for almost nothing, it felt like. And then the last one here is the Washington Redskins, James Bradbury, the corner from the Panthers. Ron Rivera coming from the Panthers. And it's interesting, too, because not only did he coach him, when Ron Rivera was there, James Bradbury was having a career year. I think he was one of the better corners in football. And then the second half of the year, Rivera's gone. Bradbury he went down a little bit at the end of the year, but a very good young corner with a lot of potential here. The Redskins need corner. They're going to draft a pass rusher with the second overall pick, but they need corners. They need, they could use another safety. They could use receiver. They may need offensive line, one or two, depending on what they do in free agency. But again, that brings up receiver. Go focus on that in the draft. You get your pass rusher in the draft. You know, they can get tackles in the draft. You know, get your corners, and there happens to be one here that fits, is familiar with the defense, the coach is familiar with. It makes just too much sense to me. You know, he may get paid a little more than you think. Redskins have some cap space. We'll see what they want to do with a guy like SCHERFF. I think they need to get him back. We'll see though. I really like that fit in the connection really there with Bradbury and the Redskins. But that's gonna do it for this one. We'll have more of these types of videos, a lot of free agency prediction videos, the NFL draft coverage constantly as well, in-season coverage. So if you don't subscribe to the channel, please subscribe to both of our channels and our Twitter. There's a link in the description and in the comments for all that. So we really appreciate it. But more of these videos on the way, more of these already on the channel. That'll do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.